Today we're going to be taking a look at the Riot Shotgun in Fallout New Vegas. This is probably the endgame shotgun that you're going to be getting in New Vegas, although there is a couple of ways that you can get this a little bit earlier than just leveling up and buying it from someplace like the Gunrunners. There's actually at least 2 locations where I'm aware a Riot Shotgun can spawn, or spawns on somebody. Those 2 locations being Vault 34, if you want to go all the way to the very bottom of it, there is a guaranteed Riot Shotgun in the basement. Although it is going to be in very low condition, you can use weapon repair kits to fix it up though, and that's one way that you can get a Riot Shotgun in the early game. The other Riot Shotgun that I'm aware of is actually in the Gomorrah Casino. It's on one of the guards, so you're probably going to have to kill that guard to take it off of them, or you're going to have to reverse pickpocket them and take it, but they're also sitting next to a turret. So that one I would say is a lot less practical to get, unless you just don't care about Gomorrah and you're fine with just shooting up the entire place, in which case then that's another opportunity for you to get a Riot Shotgun. So the Riot Shotgun requires 100 guns and 7 strength to wield. It is a high requirement for the guns, and it is a high requirement for the strength. If you're going with a shotgun build, you might want to go with this weapon. And if you want just arguably the strongest weapon in the game, the Riot Shotgun might just be that for you. The Riot Shotgun does 67 damage per shot, which is fairly high, although it's not the highest out of any of the shotguns. The hunting shotgun does more damage per shot, as well as I think the lever action, at least with Cowboy, can also get up to a similar amount of damage. However, this one does have the highest amount of damage per second at 268 damage, just baseline. That's no perks included. It can go much higher than that, especially with different ammos that you have loaded into this. So it has an insane amount of DPS and one of the highest DPSs out of anything in the game. This does 10 crit damage. This is 10 crit damage per pellet, so you still can do a lot of crit damage, assuming that all of your pellets connect. Unless you're using slugs, in which case then this is going to be less. This has a 1x crit modifier, which is fine. It really doesn't need anything more than that. That's perfectly fine to have just the base crit damage. This only costs 17 action points to use in VATS too, for some odd reason. It's good at almost everything, so it might as well be good at VATS attacks too, and it's really good on a VATS build. Okay, cool. If you want to go with that, go for it. It is probably the best shotgun to be using in VATS. This one has a spread of 2.5, so it has fairly wide spread, at least compared to the other shotguns. It's more spread than like the hunting shotgun or the lever action shotgun, less than something like the sawed-off double barrel, and about the same as like the caravan shotgun. This one holds 12 rounds in it, which is a lot. That is the most amount of ammo that any of the shotguns can hold. So that's really good. This also reloads all of the shells all at once, so you just dump the entire drum mag and then put a new one on here. So it has a very fast reload as well. This only weighs 5 weight for some odd reason too. It doesn't even weigh that much. And this has 175 item health, which is quite a bit. Even though this is a semi-auto shotgun, it doesn't eat through the item health that fast. It can if you're spamming it a lot, which you probably will be, but even then, it doesn't eat through it as quick as you might think. So the Riot Shotgun has just all around really high stats, just across the board at everything, basically. It also shoots the 12 gauge round, which is arguably the better of the 2 shotgun shells, since the 12 gauge has even more options for it, and the 12 gauges tend to just be stronger in general. For the general pros of the Riot Shotgun, this thing has really high damage per second. It is really good at that. It has a really large magazine, and it reloads that magazine really fast. 12 rounds being fired out at such a high rate of fire is really good. It uses a great ammo. The 12 gauge is one of the best ammos in the entire game for just about every type of mission and against every type of enemy, so that's really good. And it has low action point costs, so it's really good in a VATS build too. The only real con for the Riot Shotgun is that it's rare. That is like the one and only con to the Riot Shotgun. And I guess the other con could be that it's kind of too overpowered, especially for most runs. Even when I was doing my very hard hardcore run with 10 times the amount of enemies spawning, the Riot Shotgun still felt overpowered. Even with 10 times the amount of enemies being thrown at me, it still wasn't that difficult to just mow everything down with it. So that could be a con for you if you see it as that, or it could just be a pro to you if you just want to walk through the game super easy. The Riot Shotgun will allow you to do that. There are several perks that can help out with this too. There's some that are really strong. Action point perks are really good with the Riot Shotgun. It just makes it so that you can mow down basically anything in VATS. So if you want to take Mathrath, if you want to take Action Boy and Action Girl, those are really good options too. And any other VATS perks, like Commando, can be really nice as well. There are some shotgun related perks that are really good for this too. Shotgun Surgeon gives you armor breaking on this for every type of ammo. Just punching through 10 damage threshold lets you harm almost every enemy in the game for most of their health. Heavily armored and medium armored enemies can shrug some of this damage off, but it doesn't matter when you can follow it up so fast with even more rate of fire on top of that. And then End Stay Bag makes this thing absolutely overpowered beyond belief. End Stay Bag makes it so that every shot from your shotgun and every pellet from your shotgun has a chance of knocking down enemies. So if you have a bunch of pellets flying out of your shotgun in any of the different types of ammo that have more pellets, you're more likely to knock enemies down. If they're knocked down, they can't fight back. And if they're knocked down and can't fight back, it's really easy to walk right up next to them and just empty the entire magazine into them until they're dead. This works on every single enemy in the entire game. It makes it so that you can bully any enemy in the game. It doesn't matter if it's a legendary enemy, if it's a unique named enemy, if it's just death claws, Cazadors, rad scorpions, geckos, tunnelers, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You can just bully it into the corner with the shotgun and kill it super fast. You can also do this at range too, because at least in New Vegas, the shotguns still have fairly decent spread, so even at range you can knock something down, just so that you can get closer to it and keep firing at it. So even if enemies do have strong weapons at a distance, like let's say the marked men or the white legs, they can have things like 50 cals and brush guns, even they don't usually matter that much, because so long as you have enough health to tank through a shot from them or 2 shots from them, you can usually just knock them down with the shotgun, get close, and just waste them as well. The Riot Shotgun can actually be on a couple enemies. It can be on the white legs. I don't remember if it can be on the marked men or not. Maybe. And I think I've seen it on hit squads before too, but I could be wrong about that too. It's a very rare weapon. Most NPCs don't have Riot Shotguns. I do know for certain that the white legs can have it though, because you can just keep taking it off of them. You will need to be high leveled to get it off of them though. You're going to have to be like level 30 or so. And at that point, you could also buy it from the gun runners. And if you're going to buy something like the Riot Shotgun, it is fairly expensive. There's also different ammos you can load into this. The 12 gauge has a lot of different ammos to load into it. So if you need a shell to do a particular job, there's probably a shell out there for you. You have the standard 12 gauge rounds, which give you regular damage, and this fires out 7 pellets. You have the bean bags, which the bean bags with the Riot Shotgun is probably the best way to use bean bags. It's still not a great way to use bean bags, but it is a way that you can use it, and it's probably the best way. This only gives you 5% of your total damage, and it makes it so it inflicts 250 fatigue damage. However, fatigue damage is based off of the damage that the gun does. So it actually doesn't do as much fatigue damage as it should with the beanbags, but if you want to have like a non-lethal version of the Riot Shotgun, and probably a more fair version of the shotgun, I guess the beanbags are one of the more fair options that you get. You have the pulse slugs, which these ones nerf your damage by 30%. They also condense your shot into just a single slug, so you get more concentrated damage that way. And this also gives you better spread with the Riot Shotgun, as well as this also gets you extra damage towards robots and towards power armor. It gives you 50 more damage towards robots, 25 more damage towards power armor. So they can actually be pretty good, especially with how fast you can shoot this. If you want to take this to like Old World Blues and just kill all the robots, you can absolutely do that. You have flechettes after that. Flechettes nerf your damage by 10%, but they give you 6 armor breaking, and you have 5 projectiles rather than the 7. These ones can be good too if you want to be punching through a little bit of armor, and this stacks with Shotgun Surgeon. So anything with 16 damage threshold or lower, which is going to be the vast majority of enemies, basically just doesn't have armor against you, which is really strong, like Deathclaws won't. Rad Scorpions, at least the giant ones, will have 2 armor against you. Heavy armored enemies usually don't have very much. If so, they have like 1 or 2 armor. Brotherhood armor can kind of stand up to this, but that's about the only thing that can actually stand up to the flechettes in the Riot Shotgun, at least armor-wise. You have the Dragon's Breath rounds. These nerf your damage by 10%, but they give you fire damage, which deals 8 damage for 5 seconds. These are really cool. They're very fun to be using in the Riot Shotgun just because you can fire this thing out so fast and just have fire at the front of your screen. That's pretty awesome. You have slugs. Slugs condense your damage. Slugs condense your damage to where you just have the single slug and they make your gun more accurate, so that can be kind of useful for this. You have the number 4 buckshot. These ones do the same as regular 12 gauge rounds, but they just condense your pellets into 4 pellets, so you have more damage per pellet, but the same amount of damage overall. So they're better against armor than the regular 12 gauge would be, but don't have as many pellets, which can be a little bit worse for end stay back since you want more pellets to knock more enemies down. You have Coin Shot, which gives you 30% more damage, punches through 2 armor, actually gives you an additional projectile at 8 projectiles, which is pretty cool, and then it also gives you a new sound effect whenever you fire this, and it makes it so that anytime that you kill something, or I guess shoot something with Coin Shot, you can potentially pick those coins up off of its body, which are kind of cool. I do kind of like that. You have the Magnum rounds. Magnum rounds give you 30% more damage, punch through 2 armor, and break your weapon slightly faster, but they still give you 7 projectiles. These ones are probably the strongest for the shotgun, and you can make them right away. So long as you have 12 gauge and enough repair skill, which isn't very much, you can convert them into Magnum rounds, which is pretty good. And then there's also the number 4 buckshot Magnum, which you have to get from the handloader perk. So once you have that perk, you can make these. These have the same stats as Magnum rounds, but they condense your shot into 4 pellets rather than 7. These ones are also quite strong. If you want more damage per pellet, these can be a pretty good option too. So you have tons of different ammos that you can load into this, and all of them are very, very strong. You could even take all of these ammos and just switch them out to whatever you need in a given situation, especially since you just dump the entire magazine and reload the entire magazine with the Riot Shotgun. This makes the Riot Shotgun absolutely insane, and it's really the only weapon that you would ever need for an entire run, even on a very hardcore playthrough with 10 times the amount of enemies. The Riot Shotgun still felt incredibly overpowered. So this one's going to go absolutely all the way to the top of S tier for my tier list. This is probably the strongest weapon in the game in my opinion. It's this or a couple other weapons. So would I recommend the Riot Shotgun? Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really strong. Unless you just don't want an overpowered weapon, then you'd probably skip this one because this one is really overpowered. Tell me your thoughts on the Riot Shotgun down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye, everybody.